What's going on, everybody? Jan Sports, aka Jan76, back here again with another video. And before we get into this recap, let me start off by congratulating the Kansas City Chiefs. They're clearly the best team in all of football, and I wish them all the best. Wish them all the luck. They went, and hopefully they can go out there and beat Tom Brady, beat the Buccaneers. I almost said the Patriots, but beat the Buccaneers, get that Super Bowl. Kansas City, they just look like the better team from start to finish, man. One of the hardest teams to guard, but on the defensive side of the ball, they're one of the best teams. Even though, again, people look at the stats and they'll look, they might look like an average defense on paper, but when you actually take a look at them on the field in the biggest moments, biggest games, the defense always comes through. They got players all across the field, whether it's Breeland and Snead and Tyron Matthew and Chris Jones and Frank Clark and all those guys. I mean, those guys can play some football. And the Bills, they outclassed this Bills offense. Steve Spagnuolo called one hell of a defensive game. He followed the same blueprint that the Baltimore Ravens did against us last week. And he just called one hell of a game, man. Called one hell of a game. Offensively, man, we couldn't do a damn thing. We couldn't do a damn thing until literally when the game was pretty much over. Josh Allen, let's just call it spade to spade, he played like shit. Josh Allen played like shit from start to finish. And last week, a lot of Bills fans were complaining about the weather was the biggest issue why this offense sucked. And I kept saying to everybody, we can't keep blaming, this is playoff weather. We can't keep blaming the weather for our offensive woes and our offensive mistakes. Our lack of running the football was going to cost us. And all season long, even though we've had one of the best passing attacks in the league, we were extremely one-dimensional. We can't run the football. And once you take away the pass, we have kind of struggled to find a way out. We've kind of struggled to find a way on the offensive side of the ball. Now, we've had one game this year. We've had one game this year where a team took away our passing attack, our bread and butter, and we had to rely on the run game to win. We had one game that we won, and that was against the New England Patriots. Now, the first time we played them, and we barely won that game if it wasn't for a Justin Zimmer fumble recovery. So the Chiefs did again. Steve Spagnuolo called a great game. Called a great game. Was able to put his players in the right positions. Was able to put his players in the right coverages, whether if it was zone or man, whether if it was soft coverage or not. And they took away everything. I mean, there was just Josh Allen. There was a couple times where he was fooled. He could have been picked literally 4 times this game, but there was a lot of times where he was fooled by the coverage. They kept really disguising their coverages, kept hiding their coverages. And Josh Allen he had no answer for him, man. Brian Daboll got out coached. Simple as that. And this is the second week in a row now where Brian Daboll has gotten out coached by a superior defensive coordinator. Offensive line, I mean, Kansas City just kept getting pressure all day. I mean, again, we talked about guys like Okafor and Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I mean, they just kept putting pressure, just constant pressure, constant disruption in the backfield, kept flushing Josh Allen up. There were times where Josh Allen, you already know how Josh Allen can play. Once he starts to get flustered a little bit sometimes, he will have a tendency of creating and really making way too many plays. And there were times where he should have probably thrown a couple of picks. There were times where he did throw picks. There were times where he literally went 20 yards in the back and in the backfield and tried to make a play and really couldn't do it. And ended up costing us, and it really ended up costing us a lot of drives because of that. But our offensive line couldn't do shit. Feliciano got destroyed by Chris Jones. Deion Dawkins got his lunch money taken away by Frank Clark. We couldn't block. We couldn't do shit. Darrell Williams kept getting defeated by the blitz, especially when it came to the nickel or the safety coming off the edge. Darrell Williams, who's played a phenomenal season, had just got his ass kicked this game. We couldn't do anything. I mean, seriously, for an offensive line perspective. And again, we just couldn't run the football. Devin Singletary couldn't do shit, couldn't find the hole. T.J. Yeldon couldn't do shit after the catch, or even when he found the hole, couldn't do shit after the run. You know, it was just as an offense, it was horrible. It was really horrible to watch. And again, this is the second week in a row now where we played like garbage, and we're making Nick Wright look like a fucking genius. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Nick Wright is kind of when Nick Wright criticizes Josh Allen and he criticizes this Bills offense. Again, does he go too far? And do I think that Nick Wright is a hater? Yes, but there are things that he's right in. Our offense is a little too inconsistent, and we are one dimensional. And if you take that dimension away from us, we can't do anything. We have to rely on the defense and special teams and the opposition to make mistakes of their own in order for us to do anything. Really, you can make an argument that Kansas City could have been up 24 to could have been up by 31 to nothing at one point if it wasn't for the botched fumble by Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman fumbled that ball, which put us in phenomenal position to score, which we did. And we was up like 9-3. But you could have made an argument Kansas City would have scored on that drive. The score could have been 31-3 by halftime. I mean, or 31-6 at halftime. I don't know, but again, it could have been extremely ugly if it wasn't for that botched fumble. Defensively, Leslie Frazier got out coached. He sucked today. I mean, he got out coached. We played way too much soft coverage in the beginning. We kept giving Kansas City way too much respect, barely any pressure. But it didn't really matter anyway, because once we actually made the right adjustments and we actually started to dial up some blitzes and we started to, have Matt Milano come off the edge a little bit, which, by the way, where the fuck is A.J. Klein? A.J. Klein is our best linebacker as far as coming off the edge. Where the hell is A.J. Klein? We paid him $30 million. Where the fuck is A.J. Klein? He's not injured, I don't believe. But, yeah, whenever we try to dial up the blitz and it was working, we had a free shot of Mahomes and we couldn't capitalize. And, again, this is a 70% Patrick Mahomes. And Epinesa couldn't get to him. There were times where Milano had shots to get to him. We couldn't get to him. We had one sack. We had one sack today, and that's when we shoved Patrick Mahomes out of bounds, back to the line of scrimmage. So defensively, we couldn't do a damn thing. Tre'Davious White got his ass smoked by Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill was pretty much smoking everybody. Whether we were playing zone coverage or soft coverage, or we were simply just playing cover, or we simply was in cover 2 man, we couldn't do a damn thing with Tyreek Hill. Tre'Davious White got his lunch money taken away. Tyron Johnson got his ass smoked. I mean, everybody that was on him, Josh Norman, Levi Wallace, didn't fucking matter. Right, you put the safety on him sometimes. You put Jordan Poyer, you lined him up in the slot, and there were times where he was lined up against him. Just didn't matter. Travis Kelce, same shit. I mean, he cooked Edmonds. He cooked Edmonds today. Milano, they kept finding Travis Kelce in the hook. Kept finding him. Just kept finding him right there, right in the middle, right in the hook. Just and we couldn't do a damn thing about it. Again, played way too much soft coverage there, and Travis Kelce was opportunistic. Again, last week, that was our problem. We played way too fucking soft against Baltimore in their passing attack, where we honestly could have just pressed them up, played man, and tried to be a little more aggressive. This week, we played soft, and we paid the price for it. Kansas City literally looked at week 6 and looked at what kind of, what were the mistakes, and they fixed those mistakes. We didn't make any adjustments. We couldn't fix shit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We tried to make adjustments, and we just couldn't do anything. I mean, just plain and simple. I mean, the only time Kansas City was out was when they made mistakes. There were a couple of times where we actually did play some good defense, and we had some good 3-and-outs. But the fact of the matter is that we couldn't handle Kansas City. We had no answer to their offense. We couldn't put any pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and even if we did, didn't fucking matter. The only thing that we were able to do good today was stop the run. Besides that one jet sweep play to Mecole Hardman for like a 50-yard gain, we did a pretty good job of stopping the run. So they didn't rush for 161 yards, but we might as well let them just rush for 161 yards because it looked like that was the best strategy. But yeah, Leslie Frazier got out coached, plain and simple. He got out coached today. And for that Bellamy guy, dude, he needs to get a coaching job. That guy, he dialed up one hell of a game. How the fuck does this guy not have a coaching opportunity yet is beyond me. But he needs to get it. He needs to get a job offer, because I've seen some coaches this year that's just been getting some offers that I'm like, why the hell are they getting job offers? This is probably the best offensive coordinator in the league, and he hasn't even gotten an offer. What else is there to say about this game? I will say this for the Buffalo Bills. This was a great season, 13-3. We was able to get to the AFC Conference Championship, which was my expectation for this year. I said, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to get to the AFC Conference Championship. At least that was my goal this year. And as soon as we got there, let's just see what happens, man. We were able to get there, even though I thought that how we were going to get there, I thought that we were just going to, we were going to have the same elite defense. Josh Allen was going to get a little bit better, probably around 61, 62% of his passes, maybe 3,500 passing yards. But I felt like the ground game was going to be established once again, and we were going to have elite defense. Just Josh Allen was going to play a little bit better, and I felt like we was going to reach to the conference championship. Obviously, it didn't go that way. The offense pretty much carried us this year, pretty much carried us for the majority of the year. There were some games where defensively they stepped up, but nowhere near close to the elite type of defense that we had last year. But we got here. No matter how we got here, we won 15 games this year. We were 15-4 overall. That's a plus in my book. We could have been 16, and honestly, we could have had 16 wins if it wasn't for that Hail Mary. Yeah, just a great season all around, and I'll probably go more in depth with that when I recap the Bills season. But a lot of work to do, man. We need a running back. We need to stop drafting running backs in the third round. I don't know what the fuck is with that, but we need to stop drafting running backs in the third round. We need to draft a first round running back. We need it. It is Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Gainwell. Doesn't matter. We need to draft a running back in the first round. We need more linemen. We need a tight end. We need a number 2 receiver because John Brown is not reliable. He's 31 years of age. He's not. He was not healthy this entire year, and he's on the last year of his contract. I think we did a new number 2 receiver, a young receiver. We need edge rushers. I think it's plain and simple that we need edge rushers this year. We need to get stronger in the interior. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need. Even though again we're 13-3 this year, but there's a lot of. But if we're gonna beat Kansas City, because I don't see anybody else beating them. I really don't. Even next year, I don't see anybody else beating them. If we are going to beat Kansas City, we need to make some improvements. Because with the way our roster is, the way that we are right now, yes, we're good enough to get back to this game next year. And yes, we're on paper, we have a little bit of an easier schedule. But we're not going to get past Kansas City with this roster. It's just not happening. And we just got to get better as a whole. So once again, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. You guys deserve this win. You kicked our asses. I know we didn't have. I know again we had some poor sportsmanship towards the end of the game. It was a lot of chippiness out there, but overall wise, a great year by the Buffalo Bills. I am proud that we were able to get to this point. Never thought we were during my lifetime we were going to even come close to this, but we were. And I'm excited to see what happens during the offseason and moving on next forward. So Kansas City, go ahead, get that ring. And yeah, Buffalo, let's reload. So anyway, Gent 716, aka Gent Sports, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Go Bills.